What is going on? Welcome back to the YouTube. Today we're in for legs and the new leg session for me. I say new, but majority of the movements are quite similar, if not exactly the same. It's just the session order, as well as then some of the rep ranges and some of the exercise cues that we are doing for some of these movements. So similar movement patterns, just a slight tweak. We've already kicked off with the delt top-up work, of course, on the lateral raise, and we've done just a double rest pause on that with the stack plus 5 kilos, so 15, 8, 7 reps. So I would have overlaid a little bit of that over this, but yeah, really the intention is just to get a bit more delt volume across the board, because I've definitely noticed the improvement in the last off season as well as in the prep, utilising and incorporating some delt top-up work. So that being said, on the calf raise here, the seated calf raise, the Body Masters to be specific, just a few warm-ups here, and then we'll get into something heavy in a second. I know the lighting's a bit average from this angle, but here we are, we're going to run with it. So obviously on the calf raise here, I've done a few warm-up sets to get a bit of blood pumped into the calves. One thing I've had to sort of navigate or get used to has been using the Vivo barefoot shoes on the calf raise. So it's obviously slightly different in terms of the pressure and how it feels on your foot compared to wearing Converses. So obviously that's taken just a few rotations to adapt and see how it feels. So I really enjoy it now, but obviously the first few sessions it was kind of like, just getting used to it and readjust loading slightly. So anyway, we've got 85 kilos loaded. It's ended up being 3 sets total on the calf raise. So I just did that one heavier set to start with, 2, I said lighter, but 2 sets with 70 kilos loaded for sort of, I think the first set was 14 reps and the second set was 13 reps. So aiming to get the 3 sets in that sort of 8 to 15 rep range for the calf raises. Anyway, onto the adductor. For any of those keen followers or viewers that have been watching historical leg sessions, you'll know that I was always doing a cluster set, just the one set and one cluster set, aiming for sort of 30 reps, give or take, on the adductor. And I was typically doing the stack with the new tech adductor. However, with this programming, and as I sort of touched on at the start, slight adjustments in terms of the rep ranges, cues, and all of that. So with that being said, we're doing a top set and a back off set. So we're doing 2 sets. And that top set, I've been loading some decent amount of load on it over the last few rotations. So I'll do a few more warm-ups, and then I think we'll load it up and give it a whirl. We've got stack plus 15. Let's go. Oh yeah, that's 8 reps. Tell you what, stacking load on the new tech adductor is no joke. So if you are stacking load on the new tech adductor, shout out to you, because that's fucking strong. So that was 8 reps with the stack plus 15. Room for improvement is pausing in the stretch and the contraction a bit more. Very happy with the eccentric control. I'm going to do a back off now with just the stack. Aim for that sort of 8 to 12 rep range. Not necessarily too concerned about the reps per se. It's more so then how they feel. You know, we've loaded up with significant load here, and now it's just about keeping it on the adductor and really, I don't like to use the term burnout. But yeah, obviously still heavy, to say the least. It's not as if we're going stupidly light for the back off anyway. Another slight change in this session is that I'm doing the leg extension a bit earlier in the session as opposed to later on towards the back end. So I'm obviously able to load it up a lot more. I'm able to get a much better contraction in my quads compared to at the end of the workout once I've already done a leg press and a hack squat. Plenty of blood already in the system. So it's feeling really good, and I'm able to load it up. I need to make sure, obviously, because it's heavier load, I need to chuck on the seatbelt, strap up, that kind of thing. So do another warm up or two just to get the quads firing and get a bit of blood in them, because obviously I've only done shoulder, delts, calves, adductors, so I need to get a bit of blood in the quads. We'll load it up for a top heavy set. Obviously the seat belt helps to make sure that your hips stay down and into the pad. Shout out gym pin, code Nick10, not sure if that my code's still running. Definitely worth it. Wait for old mate to walk in front. Then we've got the wrist straps on.
Better?
Alright, so it turns out the audio on the seated ham curl didn't work, so let's go over it. So the Flex Ham Tractor, another new addition to this session. I did use it at Gym Hub in Boston and loved it, so I just rejuvenated my love for the kit. Obviously knowing that I've got it here at Powerhouse, I'm like, yep, let's get it into the rotation. So obviously, unfortunately, this stack is a little bit lighter than the one in Gym Hub Boston, which I couldn't even stack. It might have gone up to sort of 270 pounds, give or take. This is only 190 pounds, so I did a top set with the stack plus 25 kilos and managed 9 reps. Couldn't fully lock out that last rep, but felt mega. So I really like this rotation in the sense that I've obviously got my accessory work to start with, and then now I'm on to the hip press. So the hammer strength hip press. So I was at the back end of prep doing the Cybex squat press. We're back on the hip press, not banding it though. So who remembers that when we were top banding it to make it harder, not easier. So that might come when we can stack out the machine. So I think I can probably load 6 plates per side total. I'm not there yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. So, you know, a bit of rationale here in terms of why we're doing the hip press before the hack squat. So still doing the hack squat after this. So the hip press, because it is so challenging to lock out this machine in the, you know, the shortened position and get short, that's why we place it before the hack squat, so that we're, you know, ideally fresher than as if we were after the hack squat. So trying to be a bit more methodical in terms of my session structure and the order of we're doing exercises, and actually, you know, placing emphasis on the movements where we want to be doing them. So obviously very challenging to get short on the hip press, so we'll give it a whirl now. So we're doing 2 sets. It is obviously challenging the fact that I'm almost 80 minutes into my session and it's going to be my first compound movement of the session. So we'll do a few warm-ups, but not a huge amount. Like I think my top set will be 5 1/4 plates. So I'll do a 2 plate and a 4 plate per side warm-up, and then we'll dive right into it. 3, 2, go. Yes. Woo. Ooh, yep. The hip press is one of those kind of movements that if you're not locked in, you're not keeping really tight, it'll absolutely chew you up and spit you out. It's one of those things that it'll ride you, and you really need to be switched on and into the set if you're wanting to, you know, get a solid set out of it. Particularly when body weight is not behind you, i.e. when you died in, hence why I took this out during a prep. It'll, yeah, as I said, it'll chew you up and spit you out, and shouldn't be taken lightly, this kind of movement. So that was 5.25 plates for 8. I was struggling with sort of 6 reps for a couple of rotations, and then got 7 last rotation, and then obviously got 8 today. So I was happy with that. We're going to back off with 4.5 plates. I think last rotation I got 13, so it'd be really good if I could get that. You'll also notice that I've got my heels actually beneath the pad. That way I'm mostly driving through the up portion of my foot as well as my midfoot. That's your best way to get as much knee flexion as possible, and the most quad recruitment as possible. 3, 2, go. obviously I was previously doing the hack squat before the hip press, swap it around, so I did the 2 sets on the hip press. Now we're just gonna do the 1 set on the hack squat. We've got 4 plates loaded, so gonna really get as much out of it as possible, get as much quad recruitment as possible, have feet as low as possible, to again create as much knee flexion as possible. Ultimately, get as much quad out of it as possible, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to move the weight for the sake of it. So sticking with 4 plates, pausing at the bottom, controlling that change of direction. Ultimately, it's going to get the most quad out of it. It's not as if we're using lightweight, but relatively, I'm sure I could load up 5 plates if I wanted to, with potentially not as much quad recruitment, and it would probably force me to have my feet higher. Equally, you might notice, and something I've been doing on the Cybex hack of late at Dolby City, is actually lifting my heels slightly off the pad at the bottom of the movement and driving up through my toes midpoint. Obviously I do that on the hip press by way of having my heels off the bottom of the pad, but just, you know, probably can't see that overly well with the video, but something that I'm conscious of, you know, driving up through the toes, the midfoot and midpoint of my foot. It's ultimately going to get more quad out of it. So with that being said, let's get after it. Oh.
Yep.
No!
Go on. Drive. Yep.
I suppose once I get through the isolations and all of that onto the hip press hack squat, sort of the session rounds out, so rather quickly, an hour 50 into the session, onto the glute drive. Been really enjoying this of late, so really only needing to do 1 warm-up set. Pro tip, deliberately not coming all the way down to the bottom. Otherwise, you're just going to invariably recruit things like your quads a hell of a lot more, as opposed to keeping it in that sort of top half of the range. You're going to get more glute out of it, and that's what we're doing this movement for. 5.75 plates loaded. Righty, 9 reps. So that's a matched reps with 5 kilos added per side, which is awesome. That's the session. It is 10:37 in the AM, and I went for an hour and 57 minutes, burnt over 1,000 calories. Is that accurate? Probably not, but here we are. Hope everyone has enjoyed that video and me walking you through my leg session, my new leg session. And this is ultimately how I'm planning to build my legs this off season. Grow my quads, grow my hamstrings, grow my calves, grow my adductors, glutes, I don't know, all the things. Anyway, we need bigger everywhere. If you like the video, please like the video. Please comment down below what you would like to see in all future videos. With that being said, we'll catch you in the next one.